I will be recording lesson 4 to 6 review. We will be starting with Doorway to the Past. And so after I finish reading the story, I will follow with the questions associated. Doorway to the Past. It was Saturday morning, and as usual, I had been sentenced to my room, where I was to remain imprisoned against my will, until my mother deemed the area clean. And that includes that pigsty you call a closet, had been her last words before she marched out of my room. I decided I might as well begin with the closet, since my mother seemed most concerned with this particular 2-foot by 2-foot space. The first step in the task was not, as you might think, opening the closet door, as it had been quite some time since I had been able to close the door. I had to concede that the pile of stuff on the closet floor was impressively deep. I started by picking up things from the pile on the closet floor and throwing them onto my bed. Eventually, I came across the cloth case for my guitar, which surprised me somewhat since it had been months since I had played my guitar. I knew I was getting close to finding the floor of the closet when I found the costume I had worn in my dance recital 4 years ago. In no time, the floor of the closet was completely bare. I was admiring my labors when I noticed that in the far right corner, some of the floorboards didn't quite reach all the way to the wall. There was a slight but definite gap. I reached in. The gap held a handle that I was able to grab, so I tugged, and the closet floor lifted up. I grabbed a flashlight and shined the light down inside the exposed area. I gasped at the sight of a tiny room, the floor of which was about 5 feet below the floor of the closet. I lowered myself into the room, the flashlight gripped in my teeth. Once inside, I found a rickety 3-legged stool in one corner, and next to the stool, I spied a small table with a lantern holding a half-burnt candle. Under the stool was a small leather-bound book. I picked it up and saw it was an old prayer book. Then I remembered Mrs. Haynes. Mrs. Haynes was from the local historical society, and she had spoken at our school during Black History Month. She had explained to us that about 150 years ago, when slavery was still practiced in the South, our Ontario town was a stop along the Underground Railroad. I remember her telling us that several houses in our town had secret rooms where people once hid runaway slaves. Could this tiny room have been used for such a purpose? The thought made me shiver. "Mom, Dad," I yelled, "get up here. You aren't going to believe what I found in my closet." So the questions to go along with the doorway to the past. Number 1, the narrator was spending time in her room because she, A, was being punished for misbehaving, B, had been ordered to stay there until her room was clean, C, wanted to clean her messy closet, D, was looking for the cloth case for her guitar. Number 2, the girl in the story thinks the room might have been a hiding place for slaves because she, A, had just finished reading a book about the Underground Railroad, B, had been told by her parents that slaves once hid in their house, C, had learned at school recently that her town had been a stop along the Underground Railroad, or D, found the book of a former slave in the room. 3, how were the girl's closet and the room that she discovered similar? A, both were small areas. B, both were full of stuff. C, both contained 3-legged stools. D, both were cluttered. Number 4, the girl's discovery of the hidden room can be compared to A, the first landing on the moon, B, the discovery of North America, C, the location of a missing sock, or D, the finding of a puzzle piece. 5, the girl in the story will most likely tell her parents that she, A, has finished cleaning her room and wants a ride to the mall, B, thinks she has found something of historical significance, C, found her guitar case and a dance costume, or D, wants to invite Mrs. Haynes to their home for lunch. And finally, number 6, predict what the room under the girl's closet will turn out to be. A, a secret room where a family of immigrants once lived. B, an extra closet that her parents didn't want her to know about. C, a place where runaway slaves were once hidden. Or D, a room used to store vegetables in colonial times.